Chapter 51. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as the thought crossed his mind, Uchiha Yonyan frowned. He knew using the kaleidoscope Sharingan took a huge toll, even with his immortal body. He could only imagine how Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Shirsui, Uchiha Itachi, and others suffered terrible side effects from using it. I need to evolve the kaleidoscope Sharingan into the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan. A cold glint flashed in Uchiha Yonyan's eyes. He muttered to himself, evolving to the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan is the only way to unlock the Sharingan's full potential. Everyone knew that only fusing with an eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan or possessing Hashirama's cells could mitigate the side effects. Initially, Uchiha Yonyan considered transplanting cells from the first Hokage to avoid the downsides, but after thinking it over, evolving into the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan was the safest bet. Besides, with his immortal body, he had no interest in Hashirama's cells, of course. In the books, the only known users of the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan were Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Sasuke. Madara achieved it by fusing his eyes with his younger brother Izuna's kaleidoscope Sharingan. Sasuke, on the other hand, transplanted his brother Itachi's kaleidoscope Sharingan, resulting in a six-pointed star over a triangular windmill pattern. Now, Uchiha Yonyan wanted the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan. One way was to transplant a sibling's kaleidoscope Sharingan. But that was pretty much impossible since he didn't have any siblings to kill. The second option was to hope the god-level sign-in system would reward him with an eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan evolution card. Guess I'll have to rely on the system in a pinch. With that thought, Uchiha Yonyan took a deep breath and instinctively commanded, "System, show me my latest stats." Ding. Generating the host's latest stats. Ding. Stats generated. Host, Uchiha Yonyan. Age, 19 years old, stationed at Konoha Village, 10 years, valuable rewards, Whitebeard template, 100% unlocked, Navy 6 styles, proficient, fire style, majestic destroyer flame, shadow clone jutsu, observation haki, advanced, armament haki, advanced, conqueror's haki, advanced, Hashirama's cells, fused, Kusanagi sword, 8 trigrams palms heavenly spin, lightning release chakra mode, Chidori, Rasengan, moon breathing, next check-in location, Konoha Military Police Force, refreshed. Check-in time, 1 minute, note, sign in at the refreshed check-in location for great rewards. Too many abilities, the system's using ellipses now. Uchiha Yonyan scanned his stats and smirked. What else could he say? After 7 years of signing in, he had no idea how strong he was. Anyway, except for the Hokage's office, he'd signed in everywhere in Konoha, and his physical strength? Don't even ask. Could you imagine Whitebeard at his peak with an immortal body and lightning release chakra mode? Shadow-level ninjas would probably just cry and die in the afterlife with one punch from Uchiha Yonyan. Alright, time to head to the Konoha Military Police Force. A few seconds later, Uchiha Yonyan tidied up and flew toward the Konoha Military Police Force. Konoha Military Police Force, times had changed, forced to relocate to the edge of Konoha Village, and rejected by the Konoha Council and other major clans. The force was weaker than ever, they were practically irrelevant, when Uchiha Yonyan arrived. There weren't any ninjas on duty at the gate. Inside the building, only a few Uchiha ninjas were listlessly waiting for the end. Sigh. Uchiha Yonyan's face remained impassive, but he sighed inwardly. He knew the elite members of the force were all in the Uchiha district, backing Uchiha Fugaku in his power play. In recent years, the Konoha Council had been testing the Uchiha clan's limits, and Itachi had been promoted to ANBU captain, leading many Uchiha ninjas to reach their breaking point, ready to go down in flames with Konoha. They'd had enough of this slow death. Wait a minute. Suddenly, Uchiha Yonyan's expression changed. I remember in the books, the Uchiha clan massacre happened shortly after Itachi was promoted to ANBU captain. But Shirsui hasn't been killed by Danzo yet, so the massacre shouldn't happen early, right? The thought made Uchiha Yonyan realize the gravity of the situation. If he'd accidentally caused some butterfly effect, he needed to prepare. System, sign in at the Konoha Military Police Force. Soon, Uchiha Itachi went to his office and silently gave the command, his face blank. 1 second, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, finally, after a minute, the system's crisp notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations, host, for successfully signing in at the Konoha Military Police Force. Ding! Congratulations, host, for obtaining Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan Upgrade Card. Ding! Rewards have been distributed to the system space and can be viewed by the host at any time. System, show me Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan Upgrade Card. After using this card, the host can fuse it with any Kaleidoscope Sharingan and evolve their own Kaleidoscope Sharingan into the Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan. Chapter 52. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seriously, Uchiha Itachi glanced at the instructions on the Eternal Kaleidoscope Sharingan Upgrade Card, a slight smirk playing on his lips. Looks like the last piece of the puzzle's in place. Time to get this show on the road. He clenched his fists. 10 years, a whole decade, he'd been lying low in Konoha, practically a deadbeat, only bothering to hide during the Ninetales attack, but now, with his decade-long check-in complete and the Uchiha clan facing a crisis like never before, maybe he could finally cut loose. First things first, though, gotta get my hands on Uchiha Shirsui's eyes. Number 25 on the Uchiha hit list, might as well put those Sharingan to good use. Better he have them than that creep Danzo. Leveling up to Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. That's what I call doing a solid. Actually, Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan wouldn't be bad either. Leonien seemed to remember something and muttered to himself, you too, brainwashed by the will of fire. I wasn't planning on dealing with you before, but now you're gonna be Konoha's attack dogs, turning on your own clan. That's just nasty. Time for a little payback. Alright. Let's be real, he didn't exactly have any deep-seated loyalty to the Uchiha clan, but, to be fair, aside from a few radical extremists, most of the Uchiha genuinely wanted peace and harmonious coexistence with Konoha, and what did they get for it? The Konoha higher-ups were the worst, trying to have it both ways, all that will of fire garbage. It had become totally twisted. The original idea was that the young people were the future, and the older generation should trust and protect them. Their sacrifices weren't meaningless, they inspired the younger generation to become the pillars of tomorrow, but instead? The Third Hokage's political machine, turned into burning the young to keep the elders warm. Whatever. Gotta head over to the Uchiha compound. Sounds like things are already going off the rails from the original story. Right. In a flash, a sonic boom echoed. Uchiha Itachi's body vanished from the office. Meanwhile, Konoha, inside the Hokage's office in the central district. Phew, the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, puffed thoughtfully on his pipe, his expression unreadable. In all fairness, as the third Hokage, Sarutobi believed he had done a pretty decent job. After the Ninetales attack, he steered Konoha back on course, using the aftermath to his advantage. He kept the Uchiha clan in check and brainwashed Shisui and Itachi. The thought brought a contemptuous smile to his face. The Uchiha and Senju clans were nothing special. The Uchiha were particularly dense, with their pie-in-the-sky dreams. Honestly, if Shisui and Itachi hadn't been brainwashed, would he have dared to keep the Uchiha down? 2 pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan and Itachi, who hadn't awakened his yet, were nothing to sneeze at. Even the second Hokage wouldn't mess with that lightly. But now, with Shisui and Itachi on Konoha's side, the Uchiha were no longer a threat. Again, that's all there is to it. Using the Sun Spear to attack the Sun's shield is the highest state of winning without moves. Bang. Just then, a knock on the door. Danzo, his right hand bandaged, stalked in, his face like thunder. Danzo, remember to knock next time. Sarutobi shot Danzo a glare, his tone sharp. Sarutobi, the Uchiha are definitely planning a rebellion. The remark clearly rubbed Danzo the wrong way, but, knowing why he was here, he continued coldly, the Uchiha's elite forces have been massing in the clan compound for the last 6 months. If they riot, the consequences will be disastrous. Rebellion is impossible. Sarutobi dismissed the idea with a wave of his hand, blowing a cloud of smoke. Shisui and Itachi are both within the clan. They wouldn't dare start anything. He added confidently, if things get out of hand, yearsI will use his Mangekyo Sharingan to shut them down. No. Danzo retorted, his expression grim. For the sake of the village, the Uchiha clan shouldn't exist at all. Humph, you want to trigger a civil war in Konoha? The third Hokage scoffed, letting the Uchiha gradually weaken and die out, like the Senju, is the best way. Hiruzen, you're being naive. Danzo shook his head, unconvinced. The Uchiha are all lunatics. If we don't strike first, the consequences will be catastrophic. Bang! No means no, the third Hokage slammed his fist on the table. I have everything under control. You don't need to go rogue. Heh. Danzo just sneered at Sarutobi's outburst, then turned and left without another word. Sarutobi thought he could boss him around just because he was Hokage. One day, he'd be sitting in that chair himself, but until then, the Uchiha had to be eliminated. He stood to gain too much from their destruction. Sarutobi could take the heat. Maybe, deep down, Sarutobi wanted the Uchiha gone, too. Uchiha, you brought this on yourselves. Watching Danzo leave, the third Hokage set down his pipe. He wouldn't interfere with Danzo's plans, he'd just turn a blind eye to everything. Still, something felt wrong. The third Hokage had a vague sense of foreboding. Thinking of yearsI and Itachi calmed him down again. With those two Uchiha traitors on their side, the Uchiha were doomed. P.S. Please consider leaving tips, collections, flowers and reviews. Thank you. Dragon Boat Festival book discount. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. Chapter 53. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Rain Country, inside a creepy, dark cave, were a dozen stone platforms. Some held phantom figures cloaked in black trench coats embroidered with red clouds. Front and center, on the middle platform, stood the boss of the Akatsuki organization, Pain. The Akatsuki members were linked through the magic of the mystical lantern body technique. Alright, everyone's here. After a pause, Pain took a deep breath and said flatly, lately, your mission completion rate has improved, but, still, maintain absolute secrecy. Whatever. Haydn, a recent Akatsuki recruit, scoffed, if it wasn't to recruit more followers for Lord Jashin, I wouldn't have bothered joining your group. Humph. Pain responded with a cold snort, his face expressionless, buzz, star. Instantly, Pain's purple Rinnegan eyes flared with astonishing power, targeting Haydn with lightning speed. Whoa. Even though Haydn was just a phantom projection for this meeting, he suddenly felt an invisible pressure, like he was about to be crushed. Next time, I don't want to hear that again. A few seconds later, Pain spoke, from now on, you're partnered with Kakuzu. The terrifying Rinnegan power vanished as quickly as it appeared, as if nothing had happened. Yeah. Haydn nodded with a sneer. What an eye. Orochimaru, perched on another platform, licked his lips, eyes gleaming. Careful, Kakuzu's known to kill his own partners for bounty money. Kill his own partners? Haydn looked confused, not getting it. I kill all the weaklings, Kakuzu stated flatly, glancing at Haydn. As long as you're strong and don't get in my way, I won't kill you. Who's afraid of you? Haydn bristled, what do you mean, get in the way? Is that what you think of me? This stone-faced jerk is annoying, star. We might need to gather again in a few days when a new member joins, Pain added, as if remembering something. This one's from the Uchiha Clan of Konoha Village. Silence, absolute silence. Pain's announcement hung in the air, creating a palpable tension. An Uchiha ninja wanting to join Akatsuki? Unbelievable. And to get the leader's approval, this Uchiha had to be incredibly powerful. Fugaku? yearsI? Itachi? Or Ryuan? Everyone in Akatsuki was lost in thought, though. Uchiha Ryuan was quickly dismissed as a possibility. After becoming an elite taijutsu specialist, Uchiha Ryuan had faded into obscurity, overshadowed even by the younger Uchiha Itachi's reputation. Is Danzo making his move? Orochimaru's snake-like eyes narrowed. He could only feel sorry for the Uchiha clan. Despite defecting from Konoha, he maintained secret contact with Danzo. A month ago, Danzo had sent a letter mentioning his plans to transplant the Sharingan, which Orochimaru found odd at the time. Now, it seemed Danzo was about to act. Meeting adjourned. With those final words, Pain dismissed them. Poof. Poof. Poof, the phantoms vanished one by one. Soon, the cave was silent once more. Meanwhile, in Konoha Village, in the Uchiha district, inside a large meeting hall in the central area. Patriarch, can't the Uchiha clan fight back? The Konoha elders are constantly testing our limits, squeezing us. Are we just going to let the Uchiha clan be arrested? It's too much. It's absolutely outrageous. Ever since the Nine-Tails attack, the Uchiha clan has been living a miserable existence. Rebellion. Only by rebelling can we reclaim everything the Uchiha have lost. Damn it. Konoha Village, the Uchiha clan can't take it anymore. Anger and resentment filled the room as the elite Uchiha ninjas expressed their outrage, seemingly ready to revolt against Konoha at any moment. Guys. Fugaku looked weary. He wasn't unmoved by Konoha's actions, but he didn't want to confront the Konoha elders unless absolutely necessary. He was waiting for Shirsue's return. Before the meeting, he had sent Shirsue to see the third Hokage. If the Konoha leaders didn't provide a reasonable explanation to the Uchiha clan, Fugaku would be forced to take drastic action. Father, let's wait a little longer. Itachi glanced around the room and said wearily, Shirsue will come back. But Itachi knew, even if Shirsue met with the Hokage, it was unlikely he'd get a satisfactory answer. And to prevent Konoha from descending into civil war, the Uchiha would likely have to take extreme measures. Itachi sighed inwardly. When the village and the clan were at odds, he would choose the village over the clan. Like Shirsue, he was a member of both the Uchiha clan and Konoha village, but most importantly, he wanted to protect his younger brother, Sasuke. However, neither Fugaku nor Itachi knew that Uchiha Ryuin had stopped Shirsue on his way to the Hokage's office. Chapter 54. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Konoha Village, upriver on the Nanha River, in a rarely visited forest. Who the hell are you? Whoosh, the air cracked. Uchiha Shirsue stared intensely at the masked figure before him, his heart pounding. After 7 years of hiding, the mysterious figure had finally reappeared. Shirsue had only caught a glimpse of him during the nine-tailed fox attack. Just now, on his way to the Hokage's office to report the Uchiha clan's planned rebellion, he spotted a shadowy figure sneaking away from the Uchiha compound. Curiosity piqued, he followed, only to discover it was the same person who subdued the Nine-Tails 7 years ago, but, compared to then, this figure seemed stronger, more imposing. Uchiha Shirsue, don't you recognize me? The masked man, perched atop a large tree, chuckled. Who the hell are you? Shirsue was stunned, a hint of doubt creeping into his eyes. Sigh. The man shook his head, removed the mask, and said casually, take a good look. You're impossible. Absolutely impossible. The moment the mask came off, Shirsue recoiled in horror, stumbling backward. Uchiha Yonyen? It was actually Uchiha Yonyen. How could this be? His mind went blank. No way. He never imagined the masked man would be an Uchiha, especially one known for his taijutsu. The thought of Yonyen effortlessly suppressing the Nine-Tails 7 years ago sent a chill down his spine. Uchiha Yonyen, you're lying, right? Shirsue took a deep breath, his tone hardening. You never even practiced chakra or ninjutsu. How could you be that person? What are you trying to pull by bringing me here? That he was annoyed. This had to be some kind of trick, a deliberate attempt to mislead him. Were you ordered to meet the third Hokage? Yonyen's eyes flickered. He waved off an explanation. Faced with Konoha's endless oppression, the Uchiha clan is going to rebel. You're running to the Hokage? You're going to spill the beans. What did you say? Panic flashed in Shirsue's eyes. He retorted, Patriarch Fugaku asked me to consult with the Hokage. Why would I betray him? Sure, Yonyen said, giving Shirsue an incredulous look. Save the act. If Leonian remembered correctly, in the original story, yearsI stupidly did run back to tell the truth, only to be ambushed by Danzo, losing a Sharingan. Ultimately, to prevent war, he faked his own death to hide his Sharingan and committed suicide by jumping into the river. His only role was to help Itachi unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan, so Itachi could destroy the Uchiha clan. Double-crossing bastards, those two traitors took it to the extreme. What do you want, Leonian? I don't have time for this. yearsI was clearly growing impatient. He turned to leave, needing to ask the Hokage if he should use Kodo Amatsukami, the ultimate mind control technique, on Fugaku. The Uchiha rebellion was inevitable. He would suppress the Uchiha with the will of fire, using Kodo Amatsukami to control Fugaku. yearsI, one last question. If you had to choose between the village and the clan, which would you pick? Though disappointed, Leonian couldn't help but ask again. Isn't that obvious? yearsI stopped, turning back with a grave expression. If Konoha and the Uchiha can't coexist, I choose Konoha. Because I'm yearsI of Konoha, not yearsI of the Uchiha. If the clan rebels, the only way to protect Konoha is to cut them down. Got it? I don't think so, Leonian sighed, shaking his head. You should be Sarutobi yearsI, or Shimura yearsI. Calling yourself Uchiha yearsI is an insult to the clan. Leonian, I don't want to fight you, yearsI snapped, his voice cold. You think that Susanoo I used against you was my full strength? Compared to the Mangekyo Sharingan, your taijutsu is a joke. All right. Led here for no reason, his loyalty to the will of fire was now being questioned. Even a saint would have a breaking point, not to mention yearsI, who practically worshipped the will of fire. Oh, Leonian tossed the mask aside. You think I was serious either? With all due respect, I have a Mangekyo Sharingan, too. P.S. Tips, collections, flowers, and reviews are appreciated. Thank you. Chapter 55. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next instant, without warning, Uchiha Leonian's ordinary eyes blazed red with terrifying pupil power. 1 tomo, 2 tomo, 3 tomo, connected together, and that was just the beginning. Whoosh, star, another sound cut through the air as Uchiha Leonian casually held out his right hand, a miniature version of the sword of Kusanagi appearing in it. Silence. Complete silence. Faced with these two simple actions, Uchiha yearsI, who was about to leave, was stunned, his eyes wide with fear. He'd always thought Uchiha Leonian was a joke, a clown wearing a fake white beard to scare him. But now he realized he was the real fool. 3 tomo Sharingan, no, something's wrong. This is a Mangekyo Sharingan. That weapon, it really looks like the one used by the masked guy who suppressed the Ninetales 7 years ago. How can this be? How has Uchiha Leonian kept this hidden? Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Uchiha yearsI felt like he was losing it. He couldn't process Leonian's sudden reveal. More importantly, if Uchiha Leonian was the masked man from the Ninetales attack, the implications were terrifying. It was definitely bad news for Konoha. After all, that masked figure could have helped Konoha subdue the Ninetales completely. But instead, he let the beast loose, letting it rampage through the village, killing countless civilians and ninja, even the 4th Hokage and his wife. Shaking his head violently, Uchiha yearsI stared at the unfamiliar Uchiha Leonian, completely lost. For the first time, yearsI felt out of control. No, this can't be happening. I have to tell the 3rd Hokage. Everything's changed. The Uchiha are hiding a monster. Snapping back to reality, yearsI was visibly shaken, muttering to himself, Uchiha Leonian's appearance will plunge Konoha into civil war. I have to rumble. The next moment, whether out of disbelief or a desperate need to escape, yearsI unleashed a terrifying surge of chakra. His once black eyes turned blood red. 1 tomo, 2 tomo, 3 tomo. Eventually, his Sharingan morphed into a shuriken-like pattern with 4 blades. Undoubtedly, realizing Uchiha Leonian had been concealing his power all along, the enraged Shisui activated his own Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Leonien, what are you planning? The crazed Uchiha Shisui glared at Leonien with his Mangekyo Sharingan, gritting his teeth. The Uchiha clan is planning a rebellion. Are you going to join them, to help them commit their atrocities? That's right. Uchiha Leonien nodded indifferently. While I don't feel any particular loyalty to the Uchiha, I've always remembered that Uchiha is my family name, not Konoha. Good. Ha 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 ha. Great. Hearing this, Shisui laughed maniacally. He finally understood that this Uchiha Leonien had none of the will of fire, only a narrow-minded loyalty to his clan. Frankly speaking, wasn't it right for the Uchiha to sacrifice for the peace and stability of Konoha? This Uchiha was clearly strong, but he'd been hiding it for years, obviously an ambitious man, bang, star, the next instant, with a mental command, Shisui pushed his Mangekyo Sharingan to its limit. A terrifying wave of chakra erupted as a massive green skeleton enveloped him. Immediately, the skeleton began to grow with meridians and flesh, donned black Tengu armor, and sprouted 2 black Tengu wings on its back. Finally, a giant green Susanoo towered over Uchiha Shisui. The Susanoo again. Looking at the green Susanoo before him, Uchiha Leonien remained calm. Uchiha Shisui, you don't actually think I'm still afraid of that thing, do you? Uchiha Leonien, you've been hiding for years. I'll defeat you, expose your treacherous ambitions, and let the Konoha leadership punish you. At this point, Uchiha Shisui's bloodshot Mangekyo Sharingan was overflowing with wisps of blood, but he gritted his teeth and controlled the Susanoo, saying coldly, if you admit defeat, come with me to see the third Hokage, kneel down, and admit your mistakes. I can beg him to forgive your past transgressions. Heh, you're hopeless. Alright. Uchiha Leonien had held out a sliver of hope for Shisui, but now he realized he'd been wrong. Shisui had been brainwashed by the Konoha leadership beyond redemption. In that case. The next moment, Uchiha Leonien put away the sword of Kusanagi. He clenched his right fist, and wisps of black armament haki swirled around it, followed by wisps of fluorescent white power, and finally, the chakra of his immortal body enveloped the fluorescent white power, and if you looked closely, you'd see the power wrapped around Uchiha Leonien's fist was like a millefeuille pastry, enough to make your skin crawl. Chapter 56. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's some serious power, a real chakra surge. If I didn't know better. After feeling the massive chakra coming off Uchiha Reunion's immortal body, Shisui was positive, this Reunion was one of the mysterious figures from the Ninetales attack 7 years ago. The thought made Shisui's stomach churn. He couldn't understand why Reunion wasn't interested in the will of fire. If he could just get Reunion to buy into it, things would be so much better. Yeah, right, easy to imagine, hard to do. Faced with Reunion's scary aura, Shisui gritted his teeth and pushed his Mangekyo Sharingan to the limit, forcing his Susanoo into its complete form. Ugh. He grunted, winded, his eye power was insane, but even pushing his Susanoo to its complete form came at a price. Crack. Crack. Because of the strain, his already massive Susanoo sprouted black Tengu wings and materialized a spiral sword, looking like a god of war. Crack. Crack. The complete Susanoo was a sight to behold, its terrifying power instantly cracked the ground, the raw force it unleashed felt apocalyptic. Reunion, you better use your Susanoo too, or you're going down. I'm going all out this time. No matter how much you're hiding, it won't matter. Shisui said, his voice hard as ice, as he controlled the complete Susanoo. Fire. Whoosh. The Tai Chi symbol on the chest of the green Susanoo suddenly opened, unleashing a hail of green chakra arrows at lightning speed. Swish. 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 The air screamed as countless arrows rained down on Reunion, threatening to turn him into Swiss cheese. Bring it on. Reunion didn't even bother with his Mangekyo Sharingan. He threw a punch straight ahead. Bang. The air exploded with a white halo. A devastating shockwave roared outward. Boom. Seconds later, the shockwave slammed into the green chakra arrows, creating a deafening roar. The impact sent shockwaves rippling outward, visibly cracking the ground and unleashing raw power. In the center, the force of the shockwave detonated the green chakra arrows one by one. No way! yearsI gasped, his face a mask of disbelief. Oh, it's very possible, and this is just getting started. Whoosh! Reunion moved. In a flash, he was on top of yearsI, throwing a punch laced with fluorescent white energy. Crack! Crack! The energy wave tore through the air. Damn! yearsI desperately swung his Susanu's spiral sword to block the blow. Clang! The impact sent another devastating shockwave blasting outward. For a split second, everything froze. Ask for flowers 0. Crack! The sound of something breaking. Then, the spiral sword began to spiderweb with cracks. Shattered. yearsI stared at the shattered sword, stunned. He never expected it to be so fragile. Heh! Reunion's eyes gleamed as he stared at Susanu. Now that he'd broken the sword, he wondered if he could punch right through Susanu itself. Might as well try, right? Reunion blurred into motion, his fist slammed into the Utengu armor on Susanu's chest. Rumble. The full force of the shock fruit, Haki, and his immortal chakra exploded outward, all focused on that one point. Maximum defense. Too bad. Reunion's punch was so powerful at this point that even he didn't fully understand its potential. After a scant 3 seconds, crack, the sound echoed in yearsi's ears like a death knell. Boom. The next thing he knew, the Utengu armor cracked, and then the entire Susanu exploded from the inside out, and that wasn't the end of it. The unleashed force then detonated on the ground below. In an instant, the area within 1,000 meters was obliterated. Trees fell, and fissures ripped across the landscape like the end of the world. P.S. Ask for tips. Collection. Flowers and reviews. Sprout new. Thank you. 5. Chapter 57. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Poof! The instant his complete body Susanu exploded, Uchiha yearsI was thrown back, crashing into a tree dozens of feet away, and he coughed up blood. The force of the blast had clearly taken its toll. He was sure bones were broken. No way. My complete body Susanu, gone. He's even stronger than when he held back the Nine Tails 7 years ago. So that's why he only showed off his taijutsu. It turns out that among all of Uchiha Reunion's abilities, taijutsu is his weakest. Lying on the ground, yearsI coughed up more blood. His face was ashen, and his Mangekyo Sharingan eyes were streaked with bloody veins, making him look twisted and terrifying. He couldn't comprehend how his prized perfect defense could be so easily shattered, blown away by a single punch from Reunion. He couldn't win. Creating a complete body Susanu was already the limit of what his Mangekyo Sharingan could do at this stage. But it was useless, he was still getting trashed by Reunion. yearsI, you're really too weak. Whoosh! Reunion flashed, appearing in front of yearsI in an instant, looking down at him with arrogance. Warm-up's over. Show me your genjutsu. But don't bother with ordinary illusions. Use Koto Amatsukami to change my mind. Let me bask in the will of fire, and truly feel its greatness. You. Poof. Hearing Reunion's taunting tone, yearsi's face contorted, and he spewed out another mouthful of blood and anger. That was just too much. He'd gone all out with his complete body Susanu, and Reunion had the nerve to say he was still warming up. Was he being looked down on? Fine, you want me to bask in the will of fire? I'll make you feel just how great it is. Koto Amatsukami. Perhaps he couldn't take it anymore. yearsi's Mangekyo Sharingan erupted with a strange surge of power. Before Reunion could react, several crows cawed as they invaded his mind. Time reverse. A smirk played on Reunion's lips as he whispered. The moment yearsI activated Koto Amatsukami, Reunion had sensed something off about his arrogant display. Click. In an instant, Reunion's right Mangekyo Sharingan unleashed its own terrifying power. To yearsi's utter disbelief, time seemed to rewind. He had clearly cast Koto Amatsukami, but, in a flash, he was back to the instant before the jutsu was cast. How is this possible? Is this Izanagi? Sensing that Koto Amatsukami was still inactive, yearsI realized what was happening and stared at Reunion's Mangekyo Sharingan. something was off. After using Izanagi, a Sharingan should be destroyed, right? Wait, is it? Suddenly, Shisui exclaimed, Reunion, does your Mangekyo ability manipulate time? You got it. Reunion rubbed his right eye, slightly uncomfortable, and nodded, rewinding time like that had nearly exhausted him. For now, his time reversal could only go back 3 seconds. As for the other special uses, Reunion was still experimenting. For example, his right Mangekyo could slow down time for objects within his sight. He could calmly dodge a thrown kunai that way, and its effect on an enemy was similar to freezing them in place. His left Mangekyo could speed up time for objects as far as he could see, including accelerating his own ninjutsu. Poof. Realizing the extent of Reunion's Mangekyo's power, Shisui felt a tightness in his chest, coughed violently, and spat out a large mouthful of blood, his already pale face turning even whiter. Koto Ematsukami. Still trying to use Koto Ematsukami, at the moment Shisui attempted to activate the illusion again, Reunion finally made his move, plucking out Shisui's 2 Mangekyo Sharingan with incredible speed. Ack! Shisui screamed, the pain. Excruciating pain. Especially after sensing that his Mangekyo Sharingan had been stolen, Shisui felt himself sinking into darkness. It was over. His eyes had been ripped out. Shisui had only one thought left, his life was ending. His only regret was that Reunion had hidden his true power so well, and it would undoubtedly bring endless disaster to Konoha. Thinking of this, Shisui felt he had failed the Third Hokage's trust and expectations. Forget it, let's show you the Uchiha clan's future in an illusion. Looking at Shisui, who still held some hope for Konoha's leadership, Reunion sighed, shook his head, and said, Shisui, the top brass of Konoha see you as nothing more than a slightly stronger dog. Click. Reunion's Mangekyo Sharingan erupted with a terrifying surge of power. Under its influence, Shisui's mind became a slideshow of horrors. He saw his Mangekyo Sharingan stolen by Danzo Shimura in a sneak attack. He saw Danzo, the masked man, and Itachi Uchiha slaughtering the Uchiha clan. He saw his own death, and Konoha's leaders barely reacting at all. He saw it all. P.S. Tips, collection, flowers, and reviews, new sprouts. Thank you. Chapter 58. You are listening at novelfull.audio. To truly destroy a person, shatter their faith, it's like telling a kid, there's no such thing as Ultraman. Take Shisui Uchiha, for example. After being crippled, he saw the Uchiha clan's fate in the Uchiha flowing years illusion, including his own tragic end and the Konoha leadership's underhanded dealings. His inherited will of fire seemed to rot from the inside out. Ha 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 ha. Moments later, Shisui, paralyzed on the ground, laughed like a maniac. Bloody tears streamed from his empty eye sockets. With his faith gone, what was the point of living? It wasn't just sadness or hopelessness, it was soul-crushing torment. The irony was unbearable. He'd been nothing more than a tool for Konoha's leaders. The Third Hokage's expectations were just a way to use him to control the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Reunion, kill me. End this. Kill me. Shisui, driven mad, screamed, his face twisted in agony. I don't want anyone to see me like this. I can't face my clan with this shame. I'll be waiting in hell for Konoha's higher-ups. He laughed again, a broken sound. He collapsed, utterly defeated, his spirit more dead than alive. All right. Uchiha Reunion nodded, indifferent. He didn't know why, but seeing Shisui in such agony filled him with a strange satisfaction. He'd taken out the Uchiha clan's top prodigy, it still felt unreal. I can use your corpse, so I won't bother leaving you one piece. Swoosh! The sound of air being cut shattered the silence. Uchiha Reunion casually swung the cloud cutter in his hand. Thwack. Blood sprayed. Shisui didn't even have time to scream before Reunion sliced him in half, like butchering an animal. He was split in two while still alive, beyond any hope of survival. I'll take those Sharingan now. Without a second glance at Shisui's corpse, Uchiha Reunion carefully placed the Mangekyo Sharingan eyes into a container. A slight smile played on his lips as he muttered to himself, next, let's give the third Hokage and the Uchiha clan a little gift. Konoha Village, night had fallen, a full moon hung in the sky, tinged with an eerie red glow. In the heart of the village, the Hokage's office in the Hokage building was still ablaze with light. The third Hokage was working late again. The third Hokage works so hard. He's pouring his heart and soul into Konoha's development. He sure is. We must protect the third Hokage. Several ninjas lurking in the shadows glanced at the brightly lit office, their eyes filled with reverence. Thump, star, suddenly, a sound broke the silence near the Hokage building. Let's go. Check it out. The frowned and vanished into the night. Inside the Hokage's office, the third Hokage sat in his chair, smoking his pipe with a troubled expression. Shursui should have been here long ago with the Uchiha clan's report. Why hadn't he arrived yet? Sarutobi, maybe Shursui Uchiha turned on you. Danzo, who had been meditating with his eyes closed, stretched and sneered, those Uchiha are no good. The sooner they die, the better. No, I trust Shursui. The third Hokage exhaled a cloud of smoke. There must be a good reason for his absence. We'll wait. Fine. A flicker of malice flashed in Danzo's eyes as he clenched his fists, his voice heavy. Let's wait and see if Shursui shows up. Danzo didn't seem worried on the surface, but inside, he was getting impatient. He had already prepared his trap, waiting for Shursui to come to the Hokage's office. Once he reported on the Uchiha clan, Danzo's root operatives would strike with the force of a thunderbolt on Shursui's way home. The reason? The Mangekyo Sharingan. Of course, in Danzo's mind, the terrifying power of Koto Amatsukami was better off in his hands. With Shursui, it was just a potential threat. The Uchiha deserved to die anyway. He wanted their Sharingan and Mangekyo Sharingan. 1 minute, 10 minutes, the third Hokage had lost count of the bowls of noodles he had eaten, but Shursui still hadn't arrived. Forget it. Danzo's face was cold. He stood abruptly. I'll go to the Uchiha compound and see what's going on. Maybe Shursui is being held prisoner by his own clan. Knock knock, star. Suddenly, a knock echoed through the office. An operative burst in, kneeling and speaking with disbelief. Third Hokage, Shursui Uchiha appears to be dead. What? Clatter, star. The third Hokage dropped his pipe. He froze, his face registering shock. One thought raced through his mind, impossible. What did you say? Danzo reacted, his face darkening. Who in Konoha could kill Shursui Uchiha without a sound? Are you joking? It's true, the Umbu's voice was urgent. Lord Shursui's body is out there. Silence, a chilling silence. The third Hokage and Danzo were speechless, a look of utter disbelief plastered across their faces. Was this a joke? Shursui's body was outside. Did that mean Shursui was dead? As the Uchiha clan's strongest genjutsu user, wielder of the Mangekyo Sharingan, who in Konoha could possibly kill him? Not even Fugaku could pull that off. Chapter 59. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bring me Uchiha Shursui's body. I don't know how long it took, but the third Hokage, Sarutobi, stared in disbelief before finally giving the order. Yes. A shadow ninja cautiously left. A minute later, 2 of them returned, carrying a stretcher into the Hokage's office. Humph. Shimura Danzo scoffed. Hurry up and take off the sheet. Yes. One of the shadow ninjas, visibly shaken, yanked the white cloth away. Phew. Who? The sound of Sarutobi and Danzo gasping filled the room. Seeing Uchiha Shursui's body cut in half, nearly drained of blood, sent a jolt through everyone. It was like a thunderclap. No way. It was brutal. Uchiha Shursui's end was truly brutal. His entire body had been bisected, and judging by what was left of his face, he'd been tortured before he died. The Sharingan. Where are his Sharingan? Danzo's voice was laced with madness. He stared at Shursui's empty eye sockets, consumed by rage. The Mangekyo Sharingan that should have been his was gone. What was he supposed to do now? Bang! The third Hokage, Sarutobi, looked utterly defeated, sinking back into his chair. He knew that Uchiha Shirsui's gruesome death was more than it seemed. No matter who was responsible, it would escalate the conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha's leadership. Wait a minute. Sarutobi seemed to realize something, his brow furrowing as he looked at Danzo suspiciously. Damn it, star. Could Root have killed Shirsui, with Danzo playing some twisted game, star? Sarutobi, what are you looking at? Sensing Sarutobi's gaze, Danzo exploded. If I'd done it, do you think Shirsui would have been able to put up a fight? Of course, he wouldn't admit it. Root had laid a trap, waiting for the chance to ambush Shirsui and steal his eyes. It better not be Root. Sarutobi gave Danzo a hard look. Shirsui is dead. The only source of information we have inside the Uchiha clan now is Itachi. Sarutobi shook his head sadly. Dead men were useless. After his initial shock, he had accepted Shirsui's death. It was a pity to lose such a useful tool. Sarutobi, the Uchiha must have done it. Danzo insisted. I can't imagine anyone else being capable of killing Shirsui. Hold on. A cold glint flashed in Sarutobi's eyes. Whether the Uchiha are responsible or not, we'll know by tomorrow. No, absolutely not. The Uchiha can't be allowed to stay. Having failed to obtain Shirsui's Sharingan, Danzo was visibly frustrated. For the sake of Konoha, the Uchiha are a threat. Since Shirsui is dead, we can't afford to wait and see. Just wait a little longer. Sarutobi glanced at Danzo, hesitant, but ultimately shook his head. Sarutobi, the Uchiha and the village can no longer coexist. Danzo added earnestly, for the sake of Konoha's future, and for the sake of maintaining peace and stability, we must act. I'll go first. With those harsh words, Danzo stormed out of the office. I'll have Itachi cooperate with you. But as Danzo reached the door, Sarutobi spoke, his tone implying a grave decision. I believe Itachi, a true believer in the will of fire, will make the right choice. Whatever you do next, I'll pretend I don't know. Good. Danzo paused and left without looking back. Meanwhile, in the Uchiha district, in a large conference room in the central area. Where's Shirsui? Isn't he coming back? It's been so long. If he's not back soon, I'm going to bed. Maybe Shirsui chickened out at the last minute. After a long wait, some of the Uchiha's elite ninja started to grumble. Let's be honest, everyone used to admire Shirsui, but after the Ninetales attack, Shirsui seemed more and more aligned with Konoha's leadership, which rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But because Shirsui was the Uchiha clan's strongest genjutsu user, everyone kept their complaints to themselves. Now, the Uchiha clan was being oppressed, and no one felt the need to be polite. To Shirsui, the turncoat. I believe in Shirsui. Uchiha Fugaku looked serious, but his tone was confident. Shirsui is an Uchiha, and I believe he'll stand with the clan when it counts. Bang, star. Unfortunately, he had barely finished speaking when something smashed open the door. Before anyone could react, half of Shirsui's body landed in the doorway. What? What is this? The Uchiha in the conference room were bewildered. Who would send a corpse to a meeting? Airplanes. Itachi, who had been quiet and tense, seemed to recognize something. His Sharingan eyes widened, as if he had seen a ghost. Without warning, Itachi screamed in pain, fueled by intense negative emotions. Itachi's black pupils turned blood red. 1 tomo, 2 tomo, 3 tomo. Finally, Itachi's eyes transformed into a Mangekyo Sharingan, shaped like a triangular windmill. Itachi, what's wrong? Sensing the sudden shift in Itachi's emotions, Fugaku looked surprised, then chuckled. Just like my son. Lord Fugaku, that looks like Shirsui. Has someone dismembered him and gouged out his eyes? Suddenly, one of the Uchiha stepped forward, examining the body closely, and gasped in horror. What? Shirsui. The envy and jealousy towards Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan vanished. Everyone was in shock. Was this some kind of joke? Shisui, dismembered and robbed of his eyes. Impossible. But after a few seconds, when the half of Shisui's body was cleaned up and placed on the table, the entire room fell silent. Chapter 60. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Silence. Absolute silence. Looking at Shisui Uchiha's brutal death, the elite Uchiha clan members in the meeting room shuddered. Their hearts turned to ice. There was no doubt in their minds, the Konoha village leaders, in the Uchiha's eyes, were sending a message. By torturing and killing Shisui, who was sympathetic to Konoha, they were making an example of him. It was a clear warning to the entire Uchiha clan, a public humiliation. Gulp. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, one of the Uchiha elites, a shinobi, swallowed hard. He glanced at Fugaku Uchiha and stammered, "Patriarch, maybe we should hold off on the rebellion for now. Yeah, Konoha's leadership is clearly ready for us. We Uchiha can't walk into a trap. We can bide our time, prepare in secret, and wait for the right moment to strike." Shisui's death was awful. The Konoha leaders are heartless, real bastards, worse than animals. His words acted like a fuse, igniting the underlying fear in the other Uchiha ninjas in the room. Even the radical elders of the Uchiha clan began to have doubts. It wasn't just fear, Konoha's leadership was acting unpredictably. Damn it, they killed Shisui Uchiha just like that, without warning. Those damn Konoha leaders. Fugaku Uchiha's face was pale. He gritted his teeth, silently vowing revenge. He had no choice but to postpone the rebellion. The Uchiha had lost a key fighter. If they were going to rebel, they needed to be fully prepared. "Shisui, is this what you wanted?" Itachi Uchiha, his Sharingan newly awakened, seemed to have a sudden realization. His eyes were filled with admiration for Shisui. He finally understood, this was Shisui's will of fire, the Uchiha way. He sacrificed himself to ease the tensions between the clan and Konoha, preventing a rebellion, at least for the time being. At this point, Itachi had been completely brainwashed by the will of fire. Losing his common sense, he believed that Shisui had chosen death after meeting with the Third Hokage for the sake of peace in Konoha. And the eyes being taken away must have been because Shisui didn't want them to fall into the wrong hands. The only thing Itachi didn't understand was why the Third Hokage was so ruthless that he didn't even leave Shisui's body for the clan. Alright, meeting adjourned. After a moment, Fugaku Uchiha waved his hand, looking defeated. He was clearly shaken by Shisui's death. Yes. The elite Uchiha ninjas left the conference room with conflicted expressions. Out of respect for Shisui, no one dared to touch his body. Oh, and Itachi. Just as Itachi was about to leave, Fugaku Uchiha took a deep breath. A flicker of affection crossed his face. He chuckled, "Tomorrow morning, why don't you walk your brother to school? And pick him up in the evening? We'll have dinner together." "Yes, sir." Hearing this, a rare smile touched Itachi's otherwise impassive face. After seeing Shisui's choice, he knew what he had to do. Fugaku's words only solidified his resolve. Unfortunately, Fugaku and the others didn't realize that Danzo Shimura, who originally acquired Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan, postponed the Uchiha's extermination for 2 years. Now that Shisui had been killed by Uchiha Ryunin, and his eyes stolen, Danzo had lost his patience with the Uchiha clan. In other words, the Uchiha's days were numbered. Meanwhile, in his room in the Uchiha clan compound, Ryunin Uchiha stared thoughtfully at the two Mangekyo Sharingan in his hand, their power nearly depleted. Time for the show to begin. Ryunin Uchiha's lips curled into a smile. "Shisui, you played your part to the end. Now, your eyes will help me. System, use the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan upgrade card." Ding. Upgrade successful. A surge of power. Before Ryunin could react, the two Mangekyo Sharingan in his hands floated up and merged into his eyes at incredible speed. This is so satisfying. Sensing the warmth in his eyes, Ryunin sighed. 1 minute, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Finally, after an hour, Ryunin Uchiha snapped open his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. The Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan of Uchiha Ryunin appeared as a simple 3-tomo, its 4 blades overlapping with a dart-shaped kaleidoscope. Interesting, my Mangekyo Sharingan seems to have stolen Shisui Uchiha's illusion abilities. After examining his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Ryunen's face flashed with surprise. He had gained 2 powerful illusions, Kodo Amatsukami and Kodo Amatsukami Light. Kodo Amatsukami allowed him to directly invade an opponent's mind and rewrite their will without them knowing. Kodo Amatsukami Light released a wide beam of golden light from his right eye, pulling the enemy's soul into an illusionary space and instantly turning it to ashes, similar to the infinite Tsukuyomi.